Everybody kind of anticipates, fall going on, and in the summer, there's not a lot to write about sports-wise. I think me and Mark was talking about that earlier, and everybody's anticipation for football to start in the fall, and we're equally as excited about the season starting. And we've had a great off season so far. We come out of the season and didn't end the season up the way we wanted to end the season up, and we, I think, come back with a hunger in January. I've really seen our team, very, very hungry in the off season, and just did a lot of great things, off the field as well as on the field. Accomplishments from last year that I'm so proud of is, winning OVC on the field was great. That was wonderful. But get the news we got yesterday to win the OVC academically as well, and have 29 guys with a 3.25 or above. Our GPA for the whole team, that's 120 plus guys for a 3.08 for the year. This last semester in spring, we had a 3.14 GPA. Now, I got 3 kids at home. I got a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, they've had birthdays, 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And if one day I can get them to be averages, I'll be excited as a dad. Me and my wife both will. So to get 121 guys, all I can say is amazing to pull that off. And a lot of thanks goes to a lot of people on that. I mean, our ACE program with Janet Moore, Dr. Janet Moore, and Todd Wilson, they do a fantastic job. And I know, everybody that you go to, when you go to Alabama, you go to Auburn, you go to these different places, everybody's got academic support. But our academic support folks are invested in our players, and I think that shows with that accomplishment. You got a guy, Todd Wilson, he'll sit up there at 3 or 4 in the morning and help a guy prepare for a test and do things like that. It's not an 8 to 5 job for those folks. They're invested in the players, and that's the kind of people you want around your program. They're invested in people, not just doing a job. They're very passionate about their job, so hats off to them, and then our staff as well. Our staff does a good job of keeping our guys accountable, in the job that they do. But, I think first and foremost, when you mention those groups, you got to take your hat off to our players. They're the ones that went in the classroom and they made it happen. They did the work. They put the work in. Their goals changed from, they might not have known when they were going to graduate. They know when they're going to graduate. Graduating's important to them. Having to be average is important to them. I've seen, kind of competition. I've seen guys in the fall semester that had a 2.95. They come in and say, hey, Coach, I was so disappointed I didn't get a 3.0. So I think it's, expectations and having good support to fulfill those goals. But I'm so proud of that. Is any of our accomplishments and accolades that our team and our staff has been associated with and accomplished, that's number one to me. I mean, it's been a blessing to get that news yesterday. We was kind of hoping for it. I didn't know when we would get the word on it, but I didn't think nobody would have a higher than a 3.08. I didn't know we had 29 guys over a 3.25, not to mention, leave the guys out, the 50 guys that had above a 3.0. So hats off to our team doing that. And I think you could go around the country, you'd be hard put to find a team that won a championship and also won it academically as well. So, great job by everybody involved. And going along with all season, so that kind of got you caught up classroom-wise. Spring training-wise, we had a really good spring training. We had a lot of guys that had surgeries, through the season last year. The injury bug had bit us a little bit, as you well know. We had 23 season-ending injuries during the year, and we had about 8 other guys that played through injuries that had to have surgery between the time the season ended and all season started in January. Some of those guys weren't ready to go during spring, but we got a lot of folks working very productive during spring, and we rolled right on into summer workouts, and we had as good a summer workouts I think I've ever been a part of. And our guys, we've challenged our guys to go from, maybe, when we first got here, I thought high maintenance guys to really, and our guys talk about this, to low maintenance guys to really, I almost want to say, knock on wood, I want to say no maintenance guys. I can lay my head on a pillow at night, and we got guys that we can trust on and off the field doing their job and just being a good person and being involved in the community and things like that. We're heavily involved in the community service and the things that we do. We have to kind of break that down to you, we divide our team into huddles. And we have about 10 guys in a huddle, and they're accountable to each other academically, weight room wise, and we look for ways to create competition in those huddles. And they build points. Everybody has to have 100 points to go to fall camp. and you wouldn't believe just how our guys got into that and competed. They get rewards for, making A's and B's. You get points there. You get points for going up on your maxes and your times in the all season, and doing community stuff like going into schools and reading, going down the road to Rainbow Omega, which is a special place to us. We've took 2 huddles every month, since January to Rainbow Omega, and did some community service stuff. Going to Anniston and feeding the hungry on Fridays with one of our players' dads. It's a missionary. So these guys have logged, I would believe, as many hours as anybody in the country community service-wise. So our guys they got a full plate, but they still find time to serve our community, be actively involved in our community. So I'm proud of them as men, not just football players. So a lot of times we get labeled just as an athlete, but it's very tough to be a college athlete in any sport. It's a time demanding, deal. I mean, a lot of people sitting there that haven't been through that, haven't been a part of it, they think a college athlete, they got it made, they got a scholarship, it's easy. No, it's not easy, and it's not just on the field work or the all season work. It's in the classroom, and it's 24/7. Those guys have very, very little free time. So for them to spend their free time going to do community service work, our team has done a great job of that. So, and I know y'all got a lot of questions. I've kind of talked a lot, but as you can tell, I'm passionate about our players. I love our players, love what they stand for, and it's a joy to go to work every day, with them and our staff. They do an excellent job. So I'm going to open it up, and y'all start firing shots, and I'll answer them the best I can.
If you will, raise your hand if you have a question. I'll bring the microphone.
John, they joked about no pressure coach in there, but does it feel like pressure to you, and how do you handle the expectations with this team?
Well, I mean, there's always pressure, and I've always felt like this no matter what level I've coached at, no matter if it was my alma mater at Asheville High School, where I graduated from, a little old 3A school, and I was an old country boy, and, when I was a head coach there or assistant coach there, I felt pressure. And I always put more pressure on myself than anybody could ever put pressure on, because I feel obligated to those players and coaches to do the very best I can every day. So no outside pressure. I hate to tell you, I don't pay no attention to it, but I don't read blogs. I don't read social media stuff. I don't look at all that. I answer questions. Love to have y'all around our practice at all time, because we are who we are. There were no hidden agendas there. We don't try to cover stuff up. We love people to know what we do and get the story out about our guys. So to say that you feel pressure, I don't really feel pressure. I'm just excited. I'm excited about the season. I'm excited to watch the work we put in. I'm excited about watching these guys play, And you go around town, I told somebody this out there the other day, anywhere you go, people are excited about it and, talking about going to games and getting tickets and, can't wait to watch us play and things like that. Somebody asked me the other day, said, hey, Coach, y'all really going to be as good as what everybody thinks she's going to be? I'm like, well, I hope so. We better be. We put in a lot of work to be as good as we can be. Now, how good we're going to be, I don't know. I mean, a lot of that goes to how good your opponent is you're playing. And, my gosh, we got a tough September. We start off with a top 10 matchup with Chattanooga. It's going to be a tough game up there. They got a great team. They got a lot of folks back, from an overtime game last year that we started the season with them. I was fortunate enough to come up with a win. Their guys are going to be ready to play us. And that's all we've talked about is Chattanooga. We ain't talked about another one. But you look on down into our schedule in September before we have an off day. Not saying that October's not equally as hard, but you do have an open week in October. September's is stacked. You end the month up with UT Martin, who's going to be a tough road game in our conference. The week before that, you got Tennessee State, who's our home opener, and both of those teams are as good as anybody in our league in OVC. And then I think we got somebody game too after that Chattanooga game. Y'all remember who that is? I think it's that Jumbotron down the road at Auburn. So, we'll get to go experience that deal and watch the Eagle fly out and all that stuff. But, we're concentrating. We've talked all season about Chattanooga, and that's who we're focused on and ready to play. And our guys did a great job last year, I think, of really, because we had a lot of preseason accolades last year. Predictions. And that to me, I go back to saying this, and I don't want to be redundant, but it's kind of like when JSU Media Days I talked about is you want those expectations. So you may say, hey, you want that pressure, because that is a pat on the back to our last year's team. Of what they did on the field. So that's got your predictions set up for this year. So I'm proud of last year's team. So we're predicted where we would like to be predicted, and we want that pressure because we want to be good. We want to be excellent. But now, does that mean anything about how we're going to play? No. We got to do the job in practice each and every day. This team's got its own identity. Every team I've ever coached is different. So how we go to work every day and how we approach every week. And last year's team was very focused on it. It didn't matter. We played faceless opponents. We didn't talk a lot about our opponent besides schematically what they did. We didn't care about what the record was. We didn't care about where we were playing at, whatever. We were concentrating on how we played. And hopefully this team will be able to do that as equally as well. And I think when you get your team bought into doing that, if you don't do it that way, you set yourself up for upsets. And hopefully, we'll be able to do that as the year goes on. And like I said, I think in the first 4 games, whether you won or lost, you wouldn't call that an upset or whatever. Those games are going to be hard, a hard test for our football team. So hopefully we'll play well.
John, does the playoff loss from last year still sting for these guys, or have you done a pretty good job of trying to erase it from
No, it won't never go away. I mean, I think it drives you. And I think as a competitor, you always dwell on your losses and that hurt of that loss more than you do your success. Because unless you win that last one, you're not happy. If you're a true competitor and you're playing for the game for a reason why you want to play it for, and you got a team bought into that, that's going to hurt. If you don't win the last one, so this year, if we don't win the last one in Frisco City, this team's not going to be satisfied because that's where we put our goals and that's where our intention is. Now, does that mean any opponent we play from the time we kick it off September 5th to Chattanooga to then is not important? They're equally as important. So I think it does sting. It'll always sting. It'll always eat at me and figure out, hey, what could we have done differently to have won that game? So it does stay with you. And I think that's one of the things that is drove this team, in the off season, because a lot of times, it's if you win that last one, you get kind of complacent. I guess North Dakota State's got the patent on that. They won 4 times in a row. They ain't got complacent. So this time I see no complacency, with this team at all. I mean, we're very driven to be the best we can be.
A lot of coaches would probably be envious of you having basically a 3-year starter coming in at quarterback. Talk about what you're looking for from Eli and, of course, Christian behind him.
Well, I mean, I think it's important at any level. It's all about, you look at most teams that make deep playoff runs or win championships, they got a trigger guy on offense that can make it happen. When we look around the country and we look at folks of, hey, this team's got a chance to make a run in the playoffs. This team, is going to be there. So you come up with those, 8 or 10 teams that you throw in there, and there'll probably be a surprise or two that'll make a run, but probably the team that wins it is going to have a guy back there that can get the job done. And not mean that position's any more importantly than any defensive position or any other offensive position, but a guy that can get it done. So it is a comforting feeling. We got a guy back that's got 2 years experience, and good thing is we got him for another year. And the good thing about that, we got another one that'll play a good bit, and Christian LeMay that can do the same things that Eli can do. They're very comparable at quarterback, so it makes you feel good that you got a number 2 that can get the job done as well and make plays, too. So I just think it's an important position. I think it's something that goes into how deep or do you have a shot to win it, and how successful you can be. Good question, though.
Any more questions?
I must have answered too many of them before we started.
Coach, you guys return a lot of starters on offense and defense this year. Just talk about how good that's going to be for the upcoming season for you guys.
Well, it goes back to just like having your quarterback back. Anytime you got experience on your football team back, I mean, I think that's very evident of how well you think you can do. So we do have we had some spots last year that were untested. Like our secondary was untested last year. We were very young. We'd lost 3 out of 4 starters back there. We got all those guys back this year. We on defense we've got all our up front guys back besides one, and we had depth behind him. And then linebacker wise, we lost a few linebackers. We got to replace. So those guys defensively are the ones that are the position is kind of untested. Offensively, we got some big shoes to fill when we lost to Marcus James, and filling his shoes. But offensively, besides him and Max Holcomb, our center, we got everybody back on offense. But a lot of folks that we play have a lot of folks back too. So again, it goes back to your opponent and how good they're going to be too. Like they got, Chattanooga's got their quarterback back. He'll be a 3 or 4 year starter for them. So his coach's son, Huseman does a really good job. He's a good quarterback. And they kind of, when you talked around OVC media days, everybody talked about we got a return league. A lot of teams in OVC have a lot of guys back, a lot of returning experience. So you got some teams. You're going to see some great football games, I think, in OVC this year. I mean, it's going to be some games are going to be down to the wire. They're going to be touchdown games, or a couple field goal games. It's going to be down the wire. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch because you got most everybody we play in our league has got folks back, and so it's going to be a good brand of football that you're going to watch in OVC with many people returning. But we're excited about the guys we got coming back. I mean, we got a lot of preseason conference, all conference players selected. I can't remember the number. I think we had 12 guys selected the conference, preseason team, and I feel like there's a few left off that's got a chance to make that as well. So, like I said, it's a good comforting feeling to know that you got some experience. A lot better than the other way, where you had people you got in position hadn't seen live bullets. So you want guys back for sure.
Coach, obviously you've got some guys coming back on your defensive line that we know about, but it does seem like you and Coach Bates do like having a rotation, not just the same guys playing every down. How many guys are you comfortable with? Do you want to have who can rotate in regularly and play, and how do you and Coach Bates manage trying to build that depth?
Well, I think our coaches and players equally have done a great job of creating competition at positions and also recruiting well. And our football team, to me, is as deep as it ever has been in the past couple of seasons. So, that's a good feeling as well. Have experience plus have, some depth there. We don't have a position on field that we're not, fairly deep at, and that creates competition. When you can't tell the difference in your ones and your twos, it creates competition on your football team. And we talked about that in staff meeting this morning, just continually using that competition on your football team to its utmost advantage. So I feel like that we'll be able to create that competition and continue that through the year and have guys battling to start or have a third guy battling to be a two and get in the mix. Because when you are in our 2 deep and even our 3 deep, we try to build it 3 deep to where if you're on the bus, is what I say. If you're on the bus in our league, because we're in the bus league, in OVC. So if you're in that 70 that gets on the bus to go play on the road game, we hope that you can get in the game and play. We want to play as many folks as we possibly can. But to specifically answer your question, I feel like we're definitely 2 deep and in places 3 deep up front, whether our guys D-line wise. And a lot of times at those positions, you can't tell the difference in 1 and 2, which is going to be good. And it's a comforting feeling, I think, as a player to know that, when you're in that 2 deep, or even if I'm good enough, if I'm in 3 deep, that I'm going to play. We're not scared to play guys. And going back to the quarterback position, last year we played 3 quarterbacks. The year before we played 2, and at times 3 when 1 was hurt. So we're going to play 2 guys for sure at the quarterback position, sometimes 3, but we don't treat that. A lot of people don't do that. We do that. Our guys know they're going to get to play, and if you're good enough to get in the game for us, you're going to get playing time for sure. So, and I think that keeps everybody bought in, and they know they're invested because they know they're going to get in the game, and they have a responsibility to be ready to play for sure.
Coach, you mentioned you had a lot of returning starters. What about some new players that are coming along this year? Do you see anybody going to stand out or make an immediate impact? Or?
Well, you got several. I mean, you got some guys that redshirted last year that I think will be ready to get in the game. You got some guys that, like I said, are returning we know about, but you got some other guys that will be, equally as well too. So it's hard to say. I mean, most of the guys we got in our 2 deep right now played last year. There's a few there. Reggie Hall at a corner. He's a redshirt guy that I think you'll see play on a lot on our special teams. I think he'll be in our 2 deep, secondary wise. You got some linebackers there. Dawson Wells, who was a backup last year, that I think you'll see at linebacker position have a great year. You got some, new guys coming in. Another one, Joel McCandless at linebacker, that I think will have a good year too. So, but you do have several new faces there that I think you'll get to know pretty good. Running back position, you got 2 old hats there that's played along beside DeMarcus that There are different runners in the Marcus as you've watched over the years, but they've both had productive years in Tremaine Pope and Miles Jones, and they've had great years. But you also got a newcomer. You got Josh Clements, who is a transfer from Kentucky. I think that'll be in the mix and be able to give us playing time. As you know, at running back, we like to play 3 guys, and we share that load. And so we got a third guy there that we're pretty comfortable with. Plus, you got some young guys there that may get in the mix too. So it's hard to go down a roster and mention you know, all of them, but you do have some new faces, I think, that you'll see that you hadn't seen before that'll be really good.
Any other questions?